Mike, kind of the definition of mediocrity in the NFL has been this team we got coming up right here. The Atlanta Falcons or the Atlanta Falcons. We're back. Team recap. Mic'd up. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That's good. So speaking of doing great, I guess let's get right into the Falcons draft class. Mike, what were your thoughts on Atlanta's draft class?
Not a whole lot. Like either good or bad. That's kind of where it sits. It sits probably a little bit above average. Some good players make sense. They need a corner. They lost Desmond Trufant. A.J. Terrell was probably the best corner on the board at that point, third best. But the gap between him and Okudah and C.J. Henderson is pretty major. So they got a position of need. It probably wasn't the best value at that point, but a lot of the good value left at that pick, they really didn't have the need for. Obviously, wide receiver being one of them, they're pretty set in that position. Then Marlon Davidson, kind of a smaller D tackle, but they pretty much have that position filled up with Grady Jarrett. It's probably their best player on that defense consistently. So it's kind of a little bit of a double whammy at that one position group, but it's not a bad player. It really doesn't tie the needle either way. So it's pretty average at best.
No, I agree. I think that you put that well. Like I think that the players are pretty solid, but I just question the value with them. Terrell, you said he might have been third best corner. I kind of disagree with that. I didn't think that he did much to separate himself from kind of the Jeff Gladneys, Jalen Johnsons, those kind of guys. And I really think that you probably could have got him in, around like 25 to 30, somewhere in that range. I really don't think that you needed to get him at 16. And maybe you could have traded back to get more draft capital, And then in terms of Marlon Davidson, actually a pretty interesting player, Usually you'd look at somebody playing next to like a Derek Brown and kind of put all of their success on, the fact that, they're never going to double team Davidson because they always have Derek Brown. I think that Davidson was actually kind of an interesting player on tape. I know one thing that he kind of did well to me and stood out on almost every play was his ability to like work to the edge of guys. I mean, you used to be a DN, you can attest to this. It's so much easier to rush half a man than take an offensive tackle full on, Trying to bowl through a 320 pound man it's not how you want to be spending your game days, So he does a really good job no matter where he is, kind of countering to the outside, countering to the inside. He's never really getting stuck, and I like that. I thought it was kind of interesting because Auburn was using him as a stand-up 5 at some points, and he's like 6'3", 300 pounds. So it was an interesting sight. That's all I'll say. I don't expect that's how Atlanta will use him. I think they're kind of going to try and use him as a one-tech, honestly, and I'm really not sure how that'll work out. I know the problem with him playing next to a guy like Derek Brown is that Derek Brown was always on the center, somewhere on the center, either 0, 1, 2I, whatever. And you really didn't get to see Marlon in that role. So how is he going to transition from playing the edge in college to the interior in the NFL? Not 100% sure. I think that you maybe could have traded back and got him, honestly. I didn't really think that he was the 47th best player in the class, even though he is, like I said, an interesting kind of solid prospect. And then next, Matt Hennessy. The only thing I'll say about him is I didn't understand why they didn't go Lloyd Cushenberry. Lloyd was, by almost everybody, he seemed universally to be that second kind of interior offensive lineman on the board after Cesar Ruiz, and he ended up going in the early 80s to the Broncos. He was just sliding down draft boards, and I don't know if Atlanta didn't think they would, have a chance to get a guy like that, or if they didn't think he was a scheme fit. I'm not 100% sure. I thought that would have been much better value when you're really just kind of drafting the replacement to Alex Mack, So it was interesting to see them go Hennessy. I didn't get to watch enough film to kind of form an opinion either way, but I was just shocked that they didn't go Lloyd Cushenberry. So other than that, do you have anything else with the draft class, or are you ready to get to the offense?
Let's get in the offense.
So I guess, Mike, first thing that you see with this offense is there's not a bunch of change. Obviously, you add a guy like Hayden Hurst, add Todd Gurley. But what are your kind of just general thoughts on this offense here in 2020?
Yeah, it's not bad. I guess it's a lot like the draft class. It's not bad. This is definitely above mediocre. They have players. They have the weapons. Yeah, Todd Gurley's a nice little piece, but does he really bring more to the team? I'm not sure. I don't really see it. And also with Devonta Freeman, you had the injury concerns. You still have that with Todd Gurley, if not more. That's one of the reasons the Rams cut him. You don't know what kind of consistency you're going to get out of him. And I'm not sure you're going to see much. But obviously, you still have Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. It's a nice weapon duo. I think that trade for Hayden Hurst, I think it was a nice little pickup, to be honest. To get a first-round tight end like that, you might have thought of favors. Mark Andrews kind of bloomed at Baltimore. But I think that was a nice pickup. But, again, nothing really sticks out, especially when you're in a division with the Saints, the Bucs, and even, as we've said, the Panthers are kind of a little bit surprise team there. Roster-wise, this just doesn't really tilt the needle for me.
No, I agree. I mean, you just look at it and, well, kind of like you said, it's just the epitome of almost mediocrity, And it hurts to say that looking at this because on paper, some of these names are really good names. Obviously, Todd Gurley, a year and a half ago, I would have said was probably the best running back in the NFL. Julio Jones, one of the best receivers in the NFL. Matt Ryan, probably a top 10 quarterback. And some of those offensive line pieces are really good. But like we were talking about with the Houston Texans the other day, they just haven't got the job done. Ever since that Super Bowl, they just haven't been able to, it seems like, regroup. And you almost wonder if this core of players have kind of run their course in Atlanta, And it seems like at this point they're kind of gearing up for like a final push with this group. But you really do wonder if they'd be better off almost going into a rebuild at this point, honestly.
No, I'm with you there, but I'll let you get into it. So you were talking a little bit before about the cap situation for this team. Talking about a rebuild, can they even rebuild?
Yeah, so that was one of the most interesting things that I saw. Really is so this year right now they only have $900K left in cap space, so they're pretty much hard capped out, can't make any moves. Next year though, what they've done is they've backloaded almost all of their major players' contracts to the point where Matt Ryan this year he's making $18 million. Next year, $40 million. The year after, $41 million. Dante Fowler this year, new signing on defense. He's making $6 million this year, 18.6 next year, 19.6 the year after that. Same with Grady Jarrett, $12 million this year, $21 million next year, $23 million the year after that. As a whole, they've already committed $211 million to their roster next offseason. And I believe they've committed $206 million this offseason, and they're already capped out. So it's basically what you see is what you get with this team, So it's like I really don't know if this team isn't going to make a playoff push or isn't going to make a Super Bowl run. I just don't know what we're doing here, But at this point, with those cap figures, what can you do other than just play it out?
I'm totally with you there. And if you do cut some of these pieces in this backloaded year, what that's going to be is a messy dead cap situation, which is what I could see this team being in the next couple of years. Just having probably the most dead cap in the National Football League, because I can't imagine it working this year. And say you fire Dan Quinn come next year. What new regime wants a team that's already set in place? Or if they do try to get some of their own pieces in, they're going to have to carry so much dead cap of players that aren't even on the team. It's going to be an ugly situation.
Or they're going to be stuck with paying guys that aren't worth what they're paying. You talk about Matt Ryan. Is Matt Ryan going to be worth $36 million in 3 years? I think it's pretty questionable if he's worth that now. And you keep going down the list, and it's like there are already holes on this roster that they haven't addressed. Like Caleb McGarry, I know they just drafted him first round. He allowed 13 sacks last year, most in the NFL. Jake Matthews, Alex Mack, those guys are solid. James Carpenter, on the other hand, I think he needs to be replaced badly. So it's like they have some really good pieces in Julio, Ridley, and I like Gurley a lot actually with this change of scenery. But at the same time, it's like you just have these other holes that you're not going to be able to fill this year, next year, or the year after that. So to me at this point, you're kind of at a question of what is our timeline? Are you just going to try and just run it out and kind of reset in 2024, or are you going to eat the dead cap and start a rebuild now? It's a real tough question, because if you did start that rebuild now, you would have some pieces that I think could carry over. You would have a Calvin Ridley. You will have a Chris Lindstrom. We'll get to the defense. You'll have guys like Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones, guys like that. But, man, just that amount of dead money that you'll have, that's going to kind of inhibit you from competing for another 5 years minimum,
No, I'm totally with you there. And I guess it was kind of funny with that whole conversation, probably on the better side of the ball, this defense – nothing just really sticks out. Like, obviously they have a couple players, young players, but I think Deion Jones and Keanu Neal I think you know what you're getting from them. They're never gonna. They might break that Pro Bowl hump maybe a year or two, but they're not gonna be perennial Pro Bowlers. They're not. There's nothing. I think you know at best what you get from there. Obviously, Grady Jarrett's probably the best piece on this defense, but he's not in that top 5 D tackle conversation. Not in my eyes.
Oh, see, okay, so I'll disagree with you there. I think the Grady Jarrett he's right in that top 5 conversation. If he's not top 3, I know, and that's kind of getting into some questionable territory when you got the Buckners, Chris Jones, and Aaron Donalds of the world. I think Grady Jarrett, he deserves to be right up there. To me, the problem is everywhere else. I mean, you mentioned Keanu Neal. He's coming off an Achilles injury last year. We know his potential that he has, but is he even going to be able to hit it? We don't know. And like you said, Deion Jones, it's a real solid player. But other than that, man, there's just kind of the C+ to B talent that I don't think is going to win you anything, you know?
No, for sure. And it's kind of funny. I feel like the last couple of years, everyone thought they kind of underperformed their actual talent level. And this year, I think they fall 7-9 might be they might feel accomplished at that point. But at that, if they are 7-9 again, at this point, you need a regime change. That's my thought. And man, it's going to be rough, but just you don't see the talent. This can't tell me how this defense is going to stack up against the Buccaneers and Saints. It's not. You can't stop Breeze, and you're not going to be able to stop Brady. And especially in this division, and it's partially, it's just kind of the luck of the draw. They got 2 really good teams in that division, and one, if the Panthers and them are probably going to be battling for 3rd and 4th place. I just don't see it. They really just do not have the talent to win in this division or even league.
No, and it's just tough because I know now it's the 4th video that we've talked about it, but paying that quarterback, man, how if he's not the guy, if he's not that top 5 option in the league, your offense and your entire team is just at such a disadvantage. And you see it happening here with them losing and having to lose guys like Desmond Trufant, them having to get rid of guys like Dontari Poe, Vic Beasley, who were at one point key contributors on this defense, So it's disappointing, but I obviously get why you had to pay him Matt Ryan. I get why you're paying Julio Jones. You're paying them because they are your best players, but at the same time, you're just stripping kind of that solid foundation away from this team to the point where I think we can question the foundation. Obviously, like you said, they have playmakers at every level, but I think that at this point in the NFL, that only gets you so far,
No, I'm with you, but at the end of the day, it don't matter about the players, the talent. It's about winning games.
It is about winning games, Mike. So, kind of as you mentioned, they seem to be the perennial 7-9 team. Vegas has the win totals at 7.5. So, first off, where do you fall on that? And then second off, what are kind of some games here that you think will be interesting for the Falcons in 2020?
Yeah, honestly, I think in a normal year they are a 7-9 team. This is a tough schedule. Obviously, this whole division had a tough schedule as we've went through the Panthers and Saints already. So this is a rough schedule. 7 wins, I think they should feel accomplished with the talent they're playing. To start off in our first 4 games to play the Seahawks, the Cowboys, the Green Bay, like that very likely could be 1-3 for them to start the season off. If they come out 2-2 in that stretch, I think they can keep their heads up. But some games I'm looking to watch. I think the Seahawks would be a good game. I always think Seahawks are kind of a team that overplays their talent level. So I think that'll probably be a good game. We can see if the Seahawks can compete with what they have this year. I think might be one of the most, I hate to say it, but untalented. And we haven't got to the Seahawks yet, but I think it might be the most lack of talent, lackluster Seahawks team we've seen in a minute. So just my perspective, but I think that'll be a fun game to watch. I think just looking at here, I think a winnable game, but it'd be fun to watch. Week 9, the Broncos. Like that's the kind of level I think they might be at. And I think the Broncos might be a little bit better team, especially a more complete team. But maybe the veterans can kind of swing that game. So that'll be a fun game to watch. Pay attention to some good fantasy players there. So that's some of these games, there's no reason to watch because I don't think it's going to go in the Falcons' favor.
No, I agree. I think that a really interesting stretch of the year really is going to be between weeks 3 and 8. You look at it, they only play the NFC North and the Carolina Panthers twice. And by that time in the season, we're getting to the trade deadline, and I do wonder if you aren't able to be, 4 or 5 win team at that point, and maybe you lose both those games against Carolina. You're setting up to be fourth place in your division. I kind of wonder if you do start to see some of these pieces traded away. I know, as we said, not all of them are going to be tradable, but you got to wonder if the guys like the Alex Max of the world, maybe the Jake Matthews of the world, some of those guys, if they'll start saying goodbye to those talents in exchange for not even just the draft capital, but just the salary relief, honestly, going forward. So I think that'll be a really pivotal point of the schedule. I do agree, though, with you that 7 wins, man, that is tough with what we got here. We've already covered, obviously, the NFC North. I think they stack up moderately well with a lot of those teams, but the AFC West, man, that's a tough division. We talked about, obviously, the Chiefs, Chargers, the Broncos, we believe are, on the upswing. And then the Raiders, you can't really sleep on them either. Mix that with 6 division games that are going to be really tough and really test this team. I wouldn't be shocked if they win less than 7.5. I think that the under is a pretty solid bet just looking at this.
Yeah, I'm with you. But if you're going to take the under on the Falcons, you should take the over on? Mic'd Up Football. If you like these videos, all 10 of you, you should leave us a like, subscribe, comment. Say maybe the next team you want to do. If you like the Seattle Seahawks and you got offended by my little comment, what are we going to do next, Mike?
The Seattle Seahawks.
Damn right we will. And, we're just doing it to spread the knowledge of football because this world needs a little bit of football. So, with that, you got anything to say, Mike?
No, man, I think that we're mic'd up and how we mic it out, baby.